I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome to today's program. We're certainly glad to have you with us. It is sort of a darker and dreary day as far as our overcast weather, but it's still a great day to be out shooting. The good news here in December, even in Louisiana, you do get some warm days, and it is very comfortable out here today. We'd like to open our program today with a gun the good folks at Britton's have loaned us. This is a Daewoo, made in Korea. This is a version of the Korean military rifle, of course in semi-automatic only. But friends, you know, we've had a victory as far as, or some victories as far as the House of Representatives, also the Senate in Washington. Now is the time to get to work, and we'll be talking about that later on in the show. But now is the time to really pour the well-known coal on as far as getting something done about our rights as individuals. You know, there has been some talk about the possible repeal. You know, friends, this is not an assault rifle. It is not fully auto. It does not have the capability of firing fully automatic. So really this is a misstatement to call this particular gun, like the AR-15 or the Colt Sporters as we're aware of, or many other guns similar to this, calling them assault rifles is just, by definition, it's incorrect. So now's the time that we really need to get after these congressmen, these senators, and we need to get on the offensive locally to let people know that we as shooters are just normal Americans. We're people that certainly, I think in most cases, the gun owners have much greater value, certainly of decency and morality, than most other citizens of society. Well, let's open another shooting show with our Daewoo in .223 Remington caliber. Let's see what it'll do on that water bottle out there at 100 yards with some Hanson lead-tipped ammunition. Well, friends, needless to say, I am somewhat impressed by this Daewoo sporting rifle here. It does have a collapsible stock that is rather neat. We'll look at this in just a moment, but it's a two-position push-up or collapsible stock, ever what you want to call it. So for someone with a shorter stature, like a woman, or someone with shorter arms, can use the first position. Then someone with longer arms, such as me, can come on out and use the full extension. Now, as I understand, this gun will not be for sale at the present time, and I would like to say we do appreciate the good folks at Britton's loaning us this gun. They've certainly been a lot of help to this program over the period of time that we've been broadcasting in loaning us different firearms. This particular gun is in like new condition, and since I really doubt that these are going to be available until this ridiculous assault rifle ban is repealed or something else is done there, certainly those of us out there who like this particular type of gun, you might want to give them a call, area 318-221-4131. This gun is going for around $1,000. It is very unusual. In fact, this is the first one of these I have seen, but it does use the regular Colt type magazines for the Colt Sporter. It is a simplified version. It does borrow some ideas from the AR-15 type gun, but it has its own design. It appears to be very durable and very well made. And since we're up here at our 100-yard range, let's go ahead and put some shots downrange, and let's see what kind of group size we get from our double sandbag rest with our Daewoo. So let's do that right now. Alright, and what we're going to do, because certainly with open sights, I'm going to go for a 3-shot group, and let's see what it did down on our target at 100 yards. Our friends, looking at our target, you hear the 3 shots that we fired, and these 2 were sighting shots earlier, so we'd know what the heck we were doing. Let's see, that's actually an inch and a half. Now truthfully, that's as good as I can shoot an open-sighted gun, so outstanding performance from our Daewoo. Now friends, compared to our Colt Sporter here, you can see it's a very similar looking finish. In fact, the receivers are very similar on our Daewoo versus our Colt AR-15 type Sporter. The two guns have a pistol grip. The magazines will interchange. This particular Daewoo has what appears to be about a 17-inch barrel from back here where it leaves the receiver up to the flash hider here, muzzle brake, and it does lose some velocity as compared to our longer barrel. I'm going to guess this is about 20 inches or so on our Colt Sporter. However, this I would think would be an excellent paratroop type gun. If it in its assault rifle version, I would think that would be good. It also has some other differences. It has a bolt handle on the side here. Of course, the Colt Sporter does not have a bolt handle at all, it just has a cocking piece. It does not have a dust cover like the Colt. It does use a similar gas operation with a rotating type bolt. It is its own novel design, and needless to say, one I'm very impressed with. It has a safety over on the left side, and in fact, let's take a closer look.
You know, friends, it's rare in any field of manufacture that one particular company has a clear-cut advantage over the others. Well, in this case, it's Corbin Ammunition, Corbin Bullet Company, because they make the best handgun, long gun, and even some specialty caliber ammunition that's been real hard to get in the past. If you really want your handgun or rifle to perform at their absolute best, you need to find some Corbin ammunition. For information on where you can get Corbin, information on their product line, call them. Corbin Bullet Company, 1-800-626-7266. Again, give them a call. It's a free call, 1-800-626-7266. Trust me on this one, Corbin is the best there is.
Now friends, looking at our Daewoo up close here, you can tell it's very nicely made. Of course, here is the stock. This is the button that you press to extend the stock. You have the one position there, and those of us with longer arms would like the second position. You'll notice it has a cocking bolt handle here on the side. This is, I suppose, the barrel nut. It has, here's your magazine release, very much like on the Colt series of guns. And turning it over, let's take a look. Here is the safety, and it is in the safe position. Now, I don't like this as well as I do the Colt type, and of course this is the bolt release to load the gun. But this is in fire, and that's safe. Now, I don't like that arrangement quite as well, but it is functional. It does work. You have real good sights, and this barrel, of course, is shorter with the muzzle brake here on the end, but velocities we found were about 200 feet per second less than that of our full-size gun. But you have the two-position sights. Of course, sights are adjustable, rear for windage and the front for elevation, but for longer distance targets, you'd use this aperture, and of course then you can fold it up for closer type targets, very much like the Colt system. Now then, friends, to take the gun down, now this is where one of the real differences are. You push this button, and you can see it folds down very much like a Colt. Here is your trigger mechanism here, but instead of having a spring back in the stock like the Colts do, this has a dual spring arrangement here in the top of the receiver here, or certainly of the bolt group. And it is a novel approach, but works extremely well. Of course, put it back together. Very, very simple. Of course, here's your gas tube that comes directly out of the barrel, very similar to the Colt type system. But all in all, a good system. Well, friends, I don't mind telling you that I am impressed with the Daewoo. We had one of their handguns on the program some time ago, and I did note that it was well made. This gun has shown really outstanding accuracy. It does seem to be a good and stiff barrel, not quite as thick all toward the end as the Colt Sporter, but I tell you what, it shoots great. You saw the group it shot earlier, and you know, on this program we don't stack the deck in anybody's favor. We try and represent things as fairly as we possibly can, because we don't gain anything, one, certainly We don't expect Daewoo to buy any advertisement on the program. Wish they would, but seriously, we have nothing to gain by misrepresenting any sort of product. I'm impressed with the gun. It does have some similarities to the U.S. military type rifles that a lot of us are familiar with, but just like the dual springs here for the recoil springs, that's something that I see is certainly unique and different, but it works. So I'll tell you what, the Koreans should know something about how to build a good weapon, because they're in a situation there. I mean, they're on ready 24 hours a day in South Korea, because the North Koreans, they're never sure what they're going to do next. So they have got to have really excellent military hardware. Now this one also has a little deal here in the pistol grip for oil or cleaning stuff, a little storage compartment there. It's spring loaded, a nice thought. And of course it does take the standard Colt type magazines, and honestly friends, heck of a nice little gun. I'm impressed. The wire stocks I don't care that much for, except in this case when you don't. Yes, I am putting my hearing protection in, because yes, the short barrel, it is loud. Since you don't have any recoil with the 223 cartridge, you know, you can just shoot the gun, and yes, we did load it. Just no recoil whatsoever. So let's take a shot with it. It's just not much anyway, but you can really do some. You can really get some good use out of it as far as target shooting or varmint hunting, because the gun is accurate enough to hunt varmints with. Yes, out at 100 or so yards, easily accurate enough. I really don't know how you would scope this gun if you wanted, because the accuracy it displayed with open sights. Anytime you can get a gun to put a 3-shot group of 1.5 inches with open sights, and you know me, I mean, I'm just the average shooter with a little practice, and truthfully, with open sights, as I said earlier, that's about as good as I can shoot a gun, because I can't define the exact place on the target. You just take the best guess you can. So needless to say, the Daewoo, this gun is actually on sale at Britain's in Shreveport. I believe they want about $1,000 for it, and it is both, I think, collectible. It's also a fine piece of hardware. So the Daewoo, let's see what the number is on this thing. Heck, I really don't know. How about the Daewoo AR110C? That's what it says, in 223 Remington, from the good folks in South Korea. Hello friends, I'm out here practicing for one of the most fun hunting sports that you can imagine. You can use a variety of action types. You have access to year-round hunting, some cases no limits, and you get to use a variety of guns. Well, you know what I'm talking about is a sport of varmint hunting. And we need to introduce you folks to varmint hunting. A lot of us have been doing it for years and didn't know what to call it, but we especially need to introduce you to the Varmint Hunter magazine.
You know, friends, varmint hunting is one of the fastest growing shooting sports in the world. In fact, the Varmint Hunters Association, they have members in all 50 states and 19 foreign countries. Now, their magazine focuses on varmint hunting and super accurate reloading and shooting techniques. Plus, there's a lot of humor, a lot of interesting cartoons and humorous articles in the magazine. Incidentally, the magazine is large, it's very high quality, and something I think you're really going to enjoy reading, and it's published quarterly. It's only $24 for an associate membership in the Varmint Hunters Association. And look, for information, now you ought to do this. If you're a dedicated shooter, this is something I think you're really going to enjoy. For information on the Varmint Hunter magazine and the Varmint Hunters Association, call them at 1-800-528-4868. Again, 1-800-528-4868. Be sure and tell them you saw it on the Shootin' Show. The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
friends, let's put down our military type rifles there for a moment. Let me make a point that I think some of you will find interesting. This was really brought home to me this particular week. I don't know, probably no one's noticed, but out here on the farm, I carry a handgun pretty much all the time. And today, I'm wearing my handgun on my left side instead of my right. Now, you know, I had a good friend of mine who's a combat instructor told me years ago, said, you know, Johnny, you ought to practice with your offhand. In this case, I'm right-handed, it would be my left hand, a good percentage of the time. He said, oh, at least you ought to shoot at least 25 or so percent, and different people will have different amounts of that, with your other hand. And especially if you're a police officer, this is something you really ought to think about. A lot of us go down the range and we'll just use our regular shooting stance and go out and have fun, but really, in the interest of personal protection and self-defense, you really should know how to shoot with your other hand, because you may get your standard, like in my case, my right hand, injured or something where you couldn't use it, and you darn sure better be able to use your left hand. Well, this is something certainly I do from time to time, is do practice with my left hand. Tell you what happened to me. Out here on the farm this past week, I was cutting some limbs and I injured my right shoulder. Well, to tell you the truth, it hurts doggone bad. For several days there, I couldn't have drawn a gun with my right hand. So, simple thing, you just move the holster to the other side and go with your left hand. If you did have to use the gun, well, certainly that's something that even as homeowners, people that who, and any of us now, in our crazy society, any of us may be called upon to defend ourselves or our family, or if we're a police officer, our life. Of course, it's never going to give us much advance warning. We're just going to have to do it. So at that time, you won't have to think of, you won't have time to think about, well, what am I going to do now? You just need to be able to use your other hand. That's a lesson that was really brought home to me this past week, and something that those of us out there as shooters should really not ignore. We ought to be able to use our other hand, certainly in an emergency, and we ought to use it enough, we ought to shoot enough from our offhand or offside where we'd be comfortable and we can be sure we'll hit our target. Well, friends, like I said, you need to use that other side or other hand enough to be sure you can. Woo! Hit your target. Yeah, that carbine does splatter them, let me tell you what.
Friends, you can communicate with the Shootin' Show on CompuServe now. Our number is 735-42-3024. Again, 735-42-3024. And to join our Shootin' Show Gun Club, call us at 1-800-895-7916. We take Visa, MasterCard, check, money order, whatever you got. Join today, friends. We need to reach as many people as we can. Well, friends, we're just proud to be here with you on the Shootin' Show, and my esteemed colleague has just come back from the Northwest, in fact. Sir, you were up in a little snow there, weren't you?
About 3 feet of it in Idaho.
Well, now, honestly, you know, of course, the judge here is from Louisiana, and we don't get, you know, we have about a half-inch of snow, we think we've had a blizzard here, but, sir, that's pretty country up there, isn't it?
Oh, it's beautiful country. Colorado was, of course, is the prettiest. The mountains are more majestic and all of that, but I'm telling you, Wyoming is a big state to drive across.
Wyoming is a big state.
It takes a long time, and Idaho's not far behind.
Well, we would like to mention that those western states tend to have a lot of very independent, very conservative people out there, with possible exception of Denver and some of those places in Colorado. But mostly the people I think you're going to run into out in the western U.S. of A. is going to be very right-minded, very conservative. Most of them gun owners, I would think.
And most of them very, very friendly.
Well, certainly. I've had some trips out that way that I really certainly enjoyed. As we mentioned at the very beginning of the program, we have had some victories that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, and we're very thankful for that. But now is not the time to lay down or desist or cease and desist. Now's the time to go to work. Don't you agree, sir?
Well, Johnny, the battle lines are drawn. Representative Sherman, who is one of our chief antagonists in Congress, was virtually issuing a challenge the other day, and he was saying that, in essence, he was saying that women didn't have enough sense to use guns.
Serious mistake.
I found that to be personally offensive. I realize that women had different temperaments from men, thank goodness. But the way the liberals are trying to talk women out of being able to defend themselves is offensive. It's very offensive. You know, it's only been in recent years that we have realized that we were letting half the population go without trying to get them on our side, and depending on their husbands to get them on our side. And after all, the women were beginning to think for themselves. And of course, in my personal experience, women have always thought for themselves. But now that we've gotten the fairer sex interested in guns and interested in personal defense, and maybe not as much in hunting, but certainly in personal defense and in being free of the terrible emotion of fear.
Oh yes.
The liberals are realizing that they're about to lose this battle pretty bad because we're getting the other half of the population back on our side. I'm a great advocate of the concealed carry permits. My son-in-law he's now in Idaho, has discovered that they have a concealed carry permit that's good for the whole state. All you have to do is make the application for it and prove that you're good moral character and haven't had any bad brush-ins with the law. And we're going to have we've got a concealed carry permit in Louisiana. Not good for the whole state unless the Department of Public Safety approves it after we've gotten it in the parish. But these things are important, and we need to lay down the battle lines now. We're not going to be able to repeal Brady, probably. We're not going to be able to repeal the gun ban because Clinton will surely veto it.
Well, at least one.
But I think we can prevent any more fearful legislation from coming along. I noticed that the two Idaho senators voted against the GATT treaty, which encouraged me. Two Louisiana senators voted for it. I'm still not really satisfied about GATT. The NRA sent out a fact share the other day. I'm on their facts list also, I guess. And they said there's nothing in fact in GATT that's going to influence our right to keep and bear arms or anything that affects the Second Amendment. What we do have, and it's very, very important, we do have local governments, cities, counties, and states where this battle continues to go on. And it's going to take fighting all the way down the line, ever, ever, ever vigilant to protect your rights to keep and bear arms. Louisiana invariably has a lot of legislation introduced at every session that are, under our Constitution, patently unconstitutional, but it's easier to fight it in the legislature and in the Criminal Justice Committee than it is to get the statute after it's adopted declared unconstitutional. Or it's easier to fight it in committee and kill it than it is to fight it on the floor and kill it. So you've got to do it all the time, and this incremental attack on the right to keep and bear arms is going on, even though we think we've slowed it down on the federal level. It is still there on the state and the city and the county level, and these are things that we have to stay on all the time.
You know, what you mentioned about women, so many of the ladies have figured out. I think during the past 25 or 30 years, certainly, that I've been watching television, the organized media has so slammed whatever use of firearms there was. And I think that, you know, we have people, back when we used to have horses and buggies, people thought about horse and buggy speed. Well, the problem is, in the 20th century, we've gone so far beyond that to jet airplanes and what they used to call the jet age and space age. And I think it's taken people a long time to adjust to the speed with things happening. the news comes so quickly now from any point in the world. We're inundated with so many different variable ideas, and a lot of them nutty ideas, especially off the television. And this is why it's so important that those of us who are committed to retaining our rights, retaining our freedom, we can't let down now. Now, you're always going to have a percentage of the population that will literally accept about anything. I mean, if tomorrow, if the government came out and said, well, the water's going to be green from now on, or whatever else, some people say, well, okay, whatever they say. But there is a percentage of people who will not accept just whatever comes. We want to be responsible for helping form our own destiny. And that's what we have to do. You know, we've talked about many times, it only takes 5% of the general population to really be dedicated to doing something. And what we really are dedicated to is letting us live our own lives. Let us go our own way without government interference. Let us control our own futures.
Well, I certainly think that was the result of this last federal election, a clear statement from the American people that we want less government and more local control. I now understand, I think local governments can be just as oppressive as a federal government.
Absolutely.
State governments can be just as oppressive. So the whole idea is to keep people free of governmental interference, or as Thomas Jefferson said, bind them down with the chains of the Constitution.
Well, you're right. I was reading in the New American Magazine, and folks, I cannot overstate the value of the New American Magazine. They have such a fantastic amount of information in every issue. The thing coming now is where the state wants to decide, and these are studies going on between the U.S. government and the United Nations. The state wants to decide about licensing parents to have children.
Oh, it seems to me like that's one of Hillary Clinton's ideas. This business of licensing parents to have children gets down to the very essence of the personal life of an individual.
Absolutely.
Now, undoubtedly, a lot of people that are having children haven't got any business having children. I don't think you've got any business having children if you aren't ready, willing, and able to take care of them, support them, provide them with the necessities of life, and also with the moral necessities of life. But
our own government has encouraged that by literally paying for unwed mothers, for all these welfare children that do not have daddies. They say, well, okay, ever how many children you. I think that's what this welfare reform is about, to try and hopefully put some responsibility back on the individual. Isn't it?
Well, that's true, Johnny. It's what I said 4 years ago when I ran for the state senate. My daughters always said I was ahead of my time, and that was one of the cases where I was really calling the shots. The first item was that the crime situation had to be taken care of. We had to keep habitual criminals off the streets. We had to make sentencing mean what it said. This business of going to jail and getting a long sentence and getting off in just a few years had, in my opinion at least, had to stop. And at my age, I probably have no business taking another shot at it, but I might if I get aggravated enough.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. You know, friends, this Colt 45 or something equivalent, I think, is extremely important for self-defense. But let me tell you about another kind of defense. How about mental defense? We need to know what's going on in this country, and trust me on this one, there is no better publication to do that than the New American Magazine. It comes every 2 weeks, twice monthly, and of course they cover subjects that we need to know about. They cover all sorts of issues, from the gun issues to what's going on in Congress to all sorts of news items from all around this country and around the world for that matter. Things that are absolutely essential to us as conservative, gun-owning Americans. We need to know this. This is a tremendous bargain. It's $22 for a 6-month subscription. And I'll tell you what, friends, you'll read the New American, and you're going to get angry, you're going to get mad, but you'll also find out what you need to do. You're going to find out facts that you will not find in any other organized news media publication. But trust me on this one, these people, we know them, and if they say it, you can take it to the bank. It is in fact true. And that brings up their 800 number. You can get the New American by calling 1-800-727-TRUE-TRUE. And those numbers, of course, are 1-800-727-8783. The New American, $22 for a 6-month subscription. It comes twice a month. Friends, you need this magazine if you want to know what's going on. And in times like this, we need both of these. We need our guns, and we darn sure need our information. Friends, what you're looking at is one of the neatest discoveries we've made in some time on the program. This is a bottle of Black Canyon black powder replacement. And one of the things you miss with this is, since it has no sulfur in it, you don't have the mess that we normally associate with black powder shooting. It's more stable than black powder. It's a little safer to store and handle. And those of us who enjoy shooting these black powder firearms, you just don't have to spend all that extra time in cleaning, because there's just not much mess at all. You need some of this if you enjoy shooting and hunting with black powder. So give them a call. Black Canyon black powder replacement. Call them 800-622-8669. Again, 1-800-622-8669. Please tell them you saw it on the Shootin' Show. Well, all of us, the government is becoming so intrusive that, you know, friends, there's always someone who will want to tell you what to do. And if you don't make some effort to resist, literally there's someone who would like to tell you and I and everyone else what we need to do about everything.
Well, now, Johnny, let's get down to some specifics about firearms. It was the research of Dr. Kleck, who's a criminologist, PhD at the University of Florida, who accepted some years ago a grant from the Carter administration government to do a study and to prove that firearms were the cause of violence and the cause of crime. And he set out to do that because, in the first place, he believed that. He's a card-carrying member of the ACLU. He's a member of Greenpeace, a lot of other organizations like that. He's a certified liberal. And yet his research told him that exactly the opposite was true. He found that guns did not have any measurable effect on crime, and that, in fact, guns were used, in his latest research, were used about 2.5 million times a year to prevent crime rather than to cause it. That is, guns in the hands of the individual citizen, the individual who frequently did not even need to fire his weapon, sometimes not even show it, but they were there. And his research also showed that people who resist crime are less likely to be harmed than those who just accept it and docilely go along. Now, that's a strange thing, because you'd think that people who resisted normally would have more problem.
Well, you know, it's been popular. One of these ladies who writes columns that are nationally published in newspapers used to say, in the event of an attack or an assault or by a rapist or someone like that, she actually told her readers not to resist, because then the individual might hurt them worse. Well, and certainly don't carry a gun. Well, that has been completely disproved. As you said, it's found when people do resist a crime, they have a better chance, one, of surviving, and two, when a woman resists an assault with a gun, the gun's only taken away, what, about 1% of the time? So, something like that, a very, very minuscule amount as compared, and these women have found out, yes, they can protect themselves.
Well, there's some doctors that have gotten their paddle in the water too. Of course, I understand their strong feelings on it. They get they're sitting there in the emergency room. Person comes in shot up and they're bleeding and dying, and they're doing their best to protect them. You naturally, the first thing you think about, well, if this gun hadn't done that, or if this hadn't happened, this person wouldn't be here. But that's really not true. It doesn't make much difference whether they're injured with a gun or a knife or a baseball bat or just generally beat up. After all, the O.J. Simpson case, I guess the Nikolai Simpson case, did not involve a gun. It involved knives. And frankly, I tell you, Johnny, if I had to come out second best in a contest like that, I think I'd rather come out second best with the other fellow with a gun than with a knife.
Well, we were talking about the Tate LaBianca murder several years ago. That was with knives. Some of the most gruesome, terrible things have been committed with knives. Of course, people people have been killing each other ever since there's been people. And
I think that started with Cain and Abel, didn't it?
Well, I believe so. People have been assaulting and hurting each other. In fact, firearms are, in the general scheme of human history, is a very recent invention. And what firearms do, of course, is it equalizes. It literally equalizes, doesn't depend on age or stature or sex. What it does, it makes the parties equal. And as we've often said, the criminal they don't play on equal terms. They always play or assault with an advantage.
Well, of course, Johnny, that's the old trite expression. Sam Houston made Texans free, but it was Sam Colt that made them equal. The firearm has freed us from the gang or the bully.
That's right.
Now, I realize we have gangs today, but if I've got to face a gang, I'd a lot rather face them with a weapon than without one. Believe me.
Oh, you're exactly right.
Now, there was a time in my life, about 35 or 40 years ago, that I'd have taken on a wildcat barehanded, and usually fairly successfully. But I'm no longer at that point in my life. I don't have the strength I used to have, but I can still point a gun and I can still pull a trigger when need be. I never had to do that. I don't intend to ever have to do that, but I intend to be able to do that if I have to.
Well, that's not a decision that you or I would make. Circumstances would literally make that decision for us. But what we want to do is have the option of being able to defend ourselves, our homes, our very lives, if so need be. And these firearms is the best way to do that, that I'm aware of.
Well, as I used to tell my son, a firearm makes you 12 feet tall. You're able to handle the situation, not bully it, not press it, not create the situation, but to handle it when it arises.
Well, to deal with the situation. That's exactly right.
Friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Shotgun News, Post Office Box 669, Hastings, Nebraska, the zip code 68902, their phone number, area 402-463-4589, MasterCard or Visa for subscriptions only. Now call them at 1-800-345-6923.
Tri-tote's real easy to use because all you have is a hook on your waist and you have another hook on a strap. Okay, so all you do is you're hanging your gun up like you would on a peg gun rack. There is never anything attached to your equipment when you use a tri-tote. Okay, you just set the gun with one hook behind the trigger guard and the other hook on the barrel. To use it, you just push in towards your chest, pick the gun up to shoot it. Basically, you got 7 different positions anywhere you want to range the barrel of the gun by just taking it off. It's a piece of Velcro strap onto a Velcro shoulder pad. You just put the gun into it, pick it up and shoot it any way you want. I know a lot of people like to walk around with their gun over their wrist. In this position, tucked up under your arm, it's real comfortable, except it breaks your wrist. Set the gun with the hook in front of the trigger guard, and you got the same position, except your hands free always. And what you want to do is you can take your trigger finger right at the trigger guard, pick the gun right up off the pod, and then you got it ready to shoot. Okay? The other position that you have is when you set the butt of the gun right on the hook on the side, and you can just hold your gun for field shooting in this manner, or you can just rest it back on your shoulder, shrug your shoulder, hit the gun, catch it, and the gun comes up. It's that simple to use. A lot of people like to go out riding on their four-wheeler and their ATV, or climb into their deer stand, or drag their deer. You got a securing strap that just peels back. All you do is set it on the barrel of the gun, wrap the barrel up, and you have a little securing loop down here on the pod. Okay? You take that and you secure that right over the hook of the gun, so you're securing the top and the bottom. You can ride your four-wheeler, you can climb your tree stand in this manner. If you'd like to pull out your deer, you can open your waist belt up, drop your right hand down through your straps, bring your left hand back up through it. The gun immediately goes on your back. Buckle it up, take away any of that slack. You don't want that. Just readjust it. Pull it up tight on your back, and that's the most secure back carry you'll ever have. You can drag your deer out any way you want to drag your deer out. Climb your hands, use your binoculars. You're always hands-free with the tri-tote.
Now then, friends, for information or to order one of the all-season tri-totes, call them at 1-800-231-1443. MasterCard or Visa, $38.50 plus $6.50 shipping and handling. This is a special price for our Shootin' Show audience, so please identify to them that it is, you did see it on the Shootin' Show. This is an excellent piece of equipment a lot of us would like to have, friends. 1-800-231-1443. And by the way, friends, you know the tri-tote will make a great Christmas gift, so please get your order in today.
In spite of the government's best effort to come up with an anti-homeschooling, anti-gun jury to judge the homeschooling, gun-owning Davidians, the jury acquitted them on the main charges of murder and conspiracy. Frankly, the wrong people were on trial for murder. Those who should have stood in the dock were the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms commanders who ordered a military assault against women and children. The Treasury Department's report attempted to justify the search warrant that was obtained to permit the raid, but the fact remained unrebutted that there was no probable cause for getting a search warrant. The firearms allegation in the affidavit used to get the warrant were all months old, much older than the Supreme Court has repeatedly found acceptable. Moreover, those making the charges were not sworn, nor were they expert. One hostile ex-Davidian who claimed to have fired a machine gun was blind. One of the firearms charges had already been checked out by the local sheriff's office and found to be without foundation. All of the rest of the search warrant had nothing to do with the BATF's jurisdiction. They are not the Federal Bureau of Child Abuse, nor are they the Federal Bureau of Anti-Social Speech. But it made for reading like a supermarket tabloid. The affidavit contained a conversation allegedly held between a social worker and David Koresh about 3 weeks before the Los Angeles riots at the end of April 1992. Supposedly, Koresh had said that Waco would end up making Los Angeles look small in comparison. The Treasury report tried to explain the discrepancy away, unless one believes Koresh to be a prophet. The social worker's report was a discrepancy. The report lamely explained that, in fact, a later conversation during the second day of the riot was when Koresh made his menacing statement. But the magistrate who gave the search warrant could not have known about an unmentioned later conversation. In other words, the government shot up a house full of women and children without unreasonable cause. That is unconstitutional. Now the government should stand trial for what happened in Waco. An independent prosecutor is desperately needed. Urge your congressman to call for one. Otherwise, we may never know what really happened in Waco.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Folks, this is where SSK lives. This is the peak of the color. We just wanted to give you a look at it before we got into the commercial. Now grab your pencils and pens because you're going to need them pretty quick. This is an SSK Custom Thompson Center 375 JDJ. It's equipped with a custom frame that's engraved, an octagon barrel that's magneported, and chambered for the famous 375 JDJ cartridge. This is a 444 Marlin neck down to 375. It shoots bullets from 200 to 350 grains weight. It's probably at its best with its 270 grain Hornady. We'll show you what it does to moose a little bit later. We know there's a lot of Ruger fans out there. This is one of our custom Rugers with a diamond-shaped barrel. As far as I know, we're the only ones that do that. Take a look at that barrel. Isn't that nice? This is a conversion of the Ruger Super Red Hawk that we call a Beast. It's dead flat in recoil. Zero muzzle rise. That's due to the SSK brake. A lot of us think shooting those steel targets fast and accurate and knocking them down real quick is a lot of fun. This is a custom Smith & Wesson and 45 ACP caliber designed for that purpose. Anytime. That was the 45 and this is the 44 Magnum Beast. Go. Folks, this is a 28-pound pumpkin that we cleaned out and put a little water in to get a good explosive effect. Try and match that with your 30-06. Here's another 28-pounder with 2 gallons of water in it. Yes, sir, just call SSK anytime y'all need a pumpkin gun. Here's 2.5 gallons of water. Those pumpkin and water hits are with the 375 JDJ. I'm J.D. Jones. I developed the 375 JDJ and the barrels for these contenders that shoot them. Anytime y'all need a pumpkin gun, a good handgun for hunting, action job, telescope sights, or custom rifle any kind, give us a call. We'll help you out.
For information on the entire lineup of SSK Industries products, give them a call. Area 614-264-7217. Again, 614-264-7217.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're out here on the range. Of course, we have Bobby Christie and Al Evans, our sales team, but the good news is they're also shooters. And today we've been shooting a couple of Al's shotguns, and what you may notice differently about these shotguns, they have scopes on them. Now, Al, why don't you tell us about the gun Bobby's holding here?
Well, Bobby is holding my Ithaca Model 37 Featherlight with a 4-power scope on it. It's a 12 gauge. Of course, it's a pump. Ithaca 37 Featherlight is one of the best pumps. I used to carry a heavy one. I used to carry a 1100, and my friends were carrying Ithaca 37s, and they could carry them all day and not get tired, so I bought me one. This one has the ventilated poly choke on it. It has 9 different steps of adjustment, all the way from extra full to extra open. It shoots slugs and anything else. And it's got a 4-power scope on it, which is just about as good a scope as you want on a shotgun. A lot of guys put a 2.5-power scope, and they say it's a whole lot better, but this 4-power is a pretty good scope. And then this is my wife's. This is a 20 gauge. This is the old Remington Model 870 workhorse, and it has a 4-power scope on it too. This is a Weaver scope, that one's a Marlin scope, and you can shoot a squirrel out of the top of a tree way off yonder. This got a modified choke, and if I shoot that with modified or full choke, it puts a good pattern way on out there.
Now, Al, like you were talking when knocking a squirrel out of a tree there at a long way, you know, we ran some tests earlier today, and it's amazing. We zeroed the slugs with, or zeroed the scopes for shooting slugs, and then we shot some patterns at 25 yards, and the patterns were dead center, so I was impressed. Right. So why did you and your bride decide that you would scope your shotguns and use them for small game hunting?
Well, we use them for large game hunting too. Big game hunting, they call it.
Well, yeah, but
because
what made you think about also using for squirrel hunting or whatever?
Whoa, because of the way, normally in a shotgun, you got maybe a ventilated rib up there, and you got a little bead on the end, and we just like a better aim than that.
Well, around here, Johnny, of course, the squirrel season in Louisiana and East Texas opens up in October, and there's still a lot of vegetation on the trees, the leaves. In fact, we just had really our first frost, so you need something like this at a target that's, say, 50 yards away, and you can hit a squirrel with this shotgun right here at 50 yards away.
That's a long way for a shotgun. However, you made a real good point, Bobby. The vegetation being certainly down here, our vegetation will stay on the trees longer than in some other parts of the country due to the conditions of our weather. We're one of the last places in the country to start cooling down. Although it does get cold here, but vegetation will stay on the trees longer. And to see the squirrels, that's really, I can think of several other things that this would be good for, as well as squirrel hunting. Certainly, just your ability to see, and under lower light, early in the morning, late in the afternoon, to be sure what you were shooting at. I can see that.
Right. And sometimes we remove vegetation with these. No, honestly, early in the season, if you get up in one of your deer stands and there's a limb out in your way that's grown out there during the summer, spring and summer, you know, shoot that sucker down.
Well, I don't know about it being kind of expensive using shotgun shells for clearing trees, but however, I'm sure it does work.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we shot some. Have been shooting these guns out here today with slugs, and it's pretty amazing. You know, we had run on the program some time ago with a rifle choke tube, some real good groups out at 100 yards, but I think you'll be impressed. Let's take our double sandbag rest, and let's see what we can come up with using on this poly-choked Ithaca. Let's see what kind of group we can get with regular type slugs. Let's see what we get at 100 yards.
You notice I used a double sandbag rest just like you would with a rifle. You've got about the same thing here. This with this scope, this shotgun with the slug is accurate within a few inches at 100 yards. So we'll shoot a 3-shot group here and see what it looks like. Now that we've shot our group, we brought the target back up here so we could see just what we need to do in adjusting the scope. Got a pretty good 3-shot, 3-inch group here, but I was shooting at this, and that shows I'm going to have to adjust my scope a little bit. But at 100 yards, this is pretty good for a 12-gauge, 1-ounce rifle slug. You know, scope on a shotgun is an option that a lot of people hadn't even thought about, but it really does bring in the accuracy of this shotgun. When you can shoot a slug with about 2 to 3 inch accuracy at 100 yards, then you can pretty well bring down a deer with it.
That's true. And by the way, in this area we're fortunate. We're able to hunt with rifles and shotguns, but in some states, in the south and also in the north and in the west, you're not allowed to use a rifle. So a shotgun is real good to have.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons we put scopes on our shotguns.
You know, friends, this box of Corbin ammunition and this Wesson 41 Magnum are in fact a perfect match for each other. But it doesn't matter whatever gun you may have, like this SKS or a hunting rifle or a 38 Special or a 9mm, makes no difference, because Corbin is absolutely the best factory ammunition that money can buy, period. And also, friends, when you see a box of Corbin on the shelf or you give them a call, realize that Corbin is helping keep the Shootin' Show on the air. They've been one of our most dedicated sponsors. You cannot find finer people in the entire shooting industry. For information on Corbin ammunition, call them 1-800-626-7266. Again, 1-800-626-7266. Tell them you saw it on the Shootin' Show.
Hello, I'm Al Evans.
And I'm Bobby Christie, and we sell advertising for the Shootin' Show.
We're selling more these days, too, because of the results that we're getting the advertisers, and we want to thank all of you viewers out there who take advantage of the special offers and the special prices that we advertise on the Shootin' Show, because you've helped some of our new advertisers to really see what the show can do.
And we are fighting for your rights, and Johnny's fighting for your rights, and the judge is fighting for your rights, but we do need your help. We need your advertising dollar, and the rates are real good right now. We've brought some new people on board with us. We'd like to thank them. The Black Canyon Powder Company out of Las Vegas, Nevada, and Tri-Tote Company out of Connecticut. We do need more people on board with us because we are working real hard for you. We need your help, and our number is 1-800, and that spells
Save You Gun, 728-8486. Remember that 800 number, 728-8486.
Well, friends, it's happened again. We've run out of time for today's program. From Kurt, the judge, myself, we want to thank everyone for being with us for today's program, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Shootin' Show.